Welcome to SauceCast. I'm Porter.
I'm Ryan.
We are the Smitty Bros. We are in the middle of our epic sauce saga story. We are out to the point where...
We're chapter 5 now?
Yeah, this is part 5 of the story. We had just built 3 different $1 million brands and lost them all. And now we are at the beginning of the 4th and starting over with nothing. But our parents have just taken a, what do you want to call it? A buy-off?
Yeah, if you listen to the last one, you know, our sister offered our parents, offered to buy them a house, a $1.4 million house that, you know, they ended up taking and saying yes to, and they went through with that. And if you are just coming in, I would recommend listening to the other parts of this.
Maybe
listen to the other parts, but ended up taking that house, and you know, in our opinion, that money that is purchasing that house is stolen money, and
in my opinion,
and our parents are very aware of where we stand. That we are like, this is stolen money.
Well, they said it's stolen money.
Well, they did too. Yeah. So they're very aware of that, and nothing has been handled with our sister. She hasn't come to the table to talk about all the issues and the wrongs and the things. And so, you know, it was definitely a shock for I say it's a shock. There were red flags, so I'm not surprised that they went through with it. But you know, this buildup has been happening, and
if you don't weed out compromise, there's a natural march down the path that leads to this type of craziness.
Yes, and we saw that with our sister, and we're seeing it play out again. And it's just when issues such as compromise, unrighteous things, thoughts or actions or whatever belief systems aren't handled, that it will fruit later in your life, and or sooner, depending on how much water you give it.
Yeah, in this segment, we put the gas on. We expedited.
Yeah, we definitely
a few things. With this one.
Yeah, we had already been through a similar scenario once, and so we were. We knew we had to handle it, and couldn't let it just sit there and I don't know what the word is, but germinate under the surface anymore.
It's a weed. It's a weed, and you gotta weed your garden once in a while.
Yeah. So, anyways, we are in this position where we are still in business. You know, my dad works for our company. My younger brother works for our company. My mom is still an owner in our current company. And they just took this house from a competing company. It's actually our sister who, in our opinion, stole money from us from our first company together. And, you know, they enter into this financial thing. So outside of even all the fiduciary stuff with our company, there's just the righteousness side of things. And that's the main point here is, you know, this is a very important moment in my life, because things that I didn't want to address, that I knew were coming down the pipe, that I'm like, oh man, how is this going to play out? You know, it was just, I knew it wasn't going to be pretty, but, you know, this is the point where the trajectory of my family changed. And when I say my family, I'm talking about me, my wife, my kids, what's within my authority. I changed the trajectory of my family. And I came to a point in this moment where I realized if I sweep this under the rug and do not handle this, it is the same compromising decision that my parents are making, that my sister made, that, it is going to come, and myself, my wife, and my kids will eat this fruit down the road. And I realized that in order to stick to God's word and seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, I had to seek the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and couldn't sweep things under the rug and let that happen. So at this point, they moved into the house.
They moved into a house. You wanted to say this.
Well, yeah.
They moved into a house bought with what they say is stolen money, and I would agree with them.
When did they say that?
In their letter.
Yeah, that's true.
And well, there was stealing that took place, is what they say. They have called it an answer to prayer.
Yeah, that's true.
And that it was of God that this was given to them. They didn't quite see the fact that this was the devil giving them this house. And the reason why they did it was to have something to will to us and our kids.
Yeah. They did say that, or our mom said that it was either in a text or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to to essentially take our own stolen money, to will it back to us. It's just so twisted.
Yeah.
So yeah.
This is my business partner.
And it's our business partner. So at this point, we know we're going to have to sit down and handle stuff with our mom, just as an owner of the company. And I was at the point where it was like, something's going to change in our current company, even if it's me leaving.
Yeah. You drew a line in the sand.
I will leave. I drew a line in the sand that this is going to get handled now, and I'll go.
Yeah, you won't be a part of it. Whether she removes herself, or you remove yourself.
Yeah, whether she removes herself or I remove myself, I'm done with it.
Yeah.
And leading up to this is another word of prophecy that I received from two separate occurrences that didn't have to do, they weren't connected with each other. But, I'm thinking as all this stuff was building up, I'm going in my mind, am I going to have to fire my mom?
Yeah.
I'm the CEO of this company. Am I going to be put in a position where I need to do this? Yeah. Or fire my dad or whatever. And I'm like, the word of prophecy both times separate was, this is organically there's going to be an organic separation, and I'm not going to be put in that position.
Yeah.
And so I was interested, I had that in my mind. I was prepared to do whatever I needed to do. But I had that in my mind, and I was interested to see how that was going to be played out. So anyways, we had a meeting, Porter, me, my mom, and we were like, hey, we need to talk about what just took place. And, from, not only from our perspective, of you taking stolen money, but from the business perspective and how that affects our business. And she in that meeting was trying to say, well, this is our own personal choice, and we'll just leave our personal issues at the door and then just work together. And I was knowing that compromise, all of this is personal.
Yeah.
Everything that's happening is personal, and it's leaking into our business. It's affecting our business. It's leaking into how decisions are made, the types of the decisions that are made. And so knowing that there wasn't going to be a separation, knowing in the same way our sister had personal issues that leaked into Bitch and Sauce that affected it, it was like, no, this needs to be handled now. And this is it. Like,
You were willing to handle it too. Like you were ready to walk
I was ready
again. You had done it before with bitchin'.
I was ready.
Separate yourself from compromise
Yeah.
and preserve the legacy of your family, and you were willing to do it again in that meeting.
Yes, I was willing to do it again in that meeting, and handle everything and just get it done. And basically what I said was, what we need to do is, first of all, from the heart of, I don't care what the Bible says. I just care that I do what the Bible says. We need to start there and come together and submit ourselves to the truth of God's word. And that's what we need to do. And, it's interesting, in that meeting, she said a few things. She said, like, you guys are just trying to kick me out of the business. And I'm like, you have the wrong perspective. I'm trying to fight for any way to keep it all together.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm not against you. Yeah. I had to keep reminding her, like, we are not against you, because she was believing. I mean, she even said, like, you guys are against me.
Yeah.
And, you guys are thinking evil of me and all these things. And, at the point that I said that, how we need to approach the situation with, it doesn't matter what it says, we just need to submit to what it says.
Yeah.
At that point, she said, this is evil. And she decided to leave the company. And so that was my mom's exit. She did not leave her ownership, but she did leave as far as a executive in the company.
Yeah.
And then, I have my dad and my brother, and
They both live in the same house.
yeah,
too.
they both,
Our younger brother, Casey, has been living with them, and at this point was moving into the house with them.
yeah, he was moving into the house with them. So we wrote them both a letter and said, hey, we want to continue working with you guys. But if you choose to go this direction, like,
You're better
it's
off
done.
resigning.
Yeah, you're better off resigning.
Because it's not going to be comfortable.
Yeah.
At work.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so they both resigned from the company, and then it was just me.
It was just you, because this was like at the end of COVID,
Yeah.
and I
You're in
had
Florida.
bought another trailer. Where I was living in Oregon, it was pretty hard hit with COVID, and it changed the place, and it wasn't the same great town that I wanted to put roots into, and it changed enough that we bought a trailer. It was motivated by a septic backup that happened in our rental, and we had to get out of the house anyway for the summer months, and it was taking a really long time to get back into the house, and the snows were coming, and it was going to get cold, and school was starting, and COVID was just a bummer. So we bought another trailer, and we drove across the country to Florida.
Yep.
So I was in Florida.
Yep. So you're in Florida.
You were here
And I'm here.
by yourself.
Yeah. And I got to say, that feeling, if I talked about the feeling of like a ball and chain attached and this weight, immediately after that meeting, the weight was lifted. And I have never felt that again. And it was separating myself from compromise and standing in righteousness and truth. And it was gone.
Yeah.
Which was awesome.
Yeah.
And, the other thing we told I told Mom in that meeting is we will have nothing to do with that house. I'm not taking my kids there. I will have, like, until we handle this situation, like, there's not going to be any communication.
Yeah.
That we're not going to be a part of it at all. And like, no gifts to my kids. Don't
send any gifts.
Don't send any gifts. Don't send any of that stuff. And what's interesting is we talked in the previous podcast about our sister, using kids as leverage, grandkids as leverage and control and all those things. And so you could look at this scenario and you could go, well, are you using your kids as leverage and control to get your parents to do what I want them to do? Yeah. And honestly, what I care about in the situation is that my parents are reconnected with righteousness. It's not even about preserving a relationship with them. It's not about preserving their relationship with my grandkids, although there's so many great biblical scenarios of grandparents and grandkids and all the blessings of that. The issue is the unrighteousness that is taking place and them being reconnected to God's righteousness and not even preserving that relationship. Do I want my parents to have a relationship with my kids? Absolutely. Yeah. But not at the expense of righteousness.
Yeah. Yeah. But for someone who's outside, they could be like, oh, well, you're withholding your kids for control over because they have a different belief system and it's all the same as you. And you could liken it that we are using our kids as leverage to get our parents to move. The difference is that the Bible says to do this. So before, when you're using your kids, like our sister has done it, like if you get divorced, you're never going to see these kids again. That's not biblical. That's just a thing. Yeah. There was some hurt and things that I think my sister carried around about my parents, and she saw some similar patterns happening later in life, and she had the kids there. And I think that this is the belief system that I was talking about, where you can't see my kids anymore, and she withheld the kids for a certain time from parents again. That wasn't biblical. It's just personal issues. This is biblical, and light has no fellowship with darkness. Yeah. And the difference is that Star, when she did it, she then reconnected. I am not going to reconnect. And until the righteousness of God is the bedrock of a relationship. So that's how you know the difference between what Star was doing, using her kids as tools to gain control over the parents, and us taking a stand for our legacy that will never change, no matter what. Exactly. Even if I do, it's not about control over them. It's about the pursuit of righteousness.
Totally. Yeah, honestly, we don't control what people do. They can do whatever they want. The only thing we control is where we stand and how we line ourselves up with righteousness and truth, and that is within our control. And seeing that and making the stand and going, nope, This is where we stand, and you can do whatever you want. I'm not even going to tell you, I'll tell you what the Bible says. Sure. It won't even be my opinion. Mm-hmm. It'll just be like, here's what truth says, but you're free to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So, and there's been what I was going to say, there's like some people it's in some letters and other things, a few letters about us isolating ourselves from our family and, separating ourselves because we come from, this big, a massive family of cousins and people who were involved with Bitch and Sauce. And, this scenario that happened with Bitch and Sauce has been very far reaching to a lot of extended family and to a point where, people don't want to be forced into a situation where they have to draw a line, but not drawing a line is drawing a line.
Sure.
And it is, it shows where people stand, and it also has manifested in people's actions. And what I would say to, the isolating ourselves, there is a wide open door to us, our families, and our lives. It is wide open. We have to talk about some stuff, and handle some wrongs and unrighteousness. We just have to do that in order to have like a truthful, real, honest relationship. And I talk about like the status of our family. You would look at our family right now and you would go, it's rubble.
Yeah.
All the relationships are rubble. Everything is ruined. It's ruined. It is rubble. And my perspective on that is this is the healthiest our family has ever been, because the truth of these compromises that have been hidden and held down deep and have been hiding in the shadows and not revealed, the real truth of that has now been revealed, and the real fruit of that is all revealed. And what you're looking at is the truth of what it is.
Yeah.
And so now, from a place of a foundation of truth, now we can build up on truth.
Yeah.
But that is
instead of having
I want to say
an infection, it's like having a clean wound.
Yes.
But it's still a wound.
I want to say this, to compare it, like we could have preserved everything in our own strength.
Yeah.
And, this ideal family, we could have preserved everything with Star. And you're looking at, these great relationships and all this stuff. But underneath the surface is rot, bitterness, betrayal, things unhandled, not truth, just all this compromise stuff. And it's not the reality. The idea that this big, happy family, it's not the reality. Right now is the reality of the truth of what is. And now we build on a standard of righteousness, and then all the other things that are important will be added in the power of righteousness, not in the power of self-preservation.
So we've been called isolationists and separatists and not nice. We've been called not nice to our parents for not letting them see the grandkids and their grandkids. We've been called all of these things. And like you point out, the door is wide open.
It is.
We just have something to talk about.
Yeah.
It's not like we haven't pursued them and been like, hey, we really love you and we have pursued them. Outside of just separating ourselves. I've basically followed them around for years at this point, until recently where I saw that it wasn't working. But pursuing them, saying, we have to talk about this. I want a relationship. I'm pleading with you guys. Just talk to me about this. We have to do it in this setting. as the Bible says is the best way to do it, so that we can fix the problem wherever the problem lies. If it's me, help me, help me.
Help me.
I'm running around basically saying, help me. But we have to talk about this thing. So there's a difference there. We have pursued almost everybody.
Just to reiterate it, the door is wide open for, all of it to be discussed, to be talked about openly, and in
Their doors are closed.
I know they won't come talk about it.
I went knocking on doors. I want to talk to you about this, and all of their doors are closed. Now I'm not going to keep doing that.
I'm just reiterating the door's open.
door's open.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And let's discuss it. Yeah. And let's submit ourselves to the word's way, and let's do it.
Let's talk about what happened next. I'm in Florida. You're here by yourself. Our bar business just got wiped off the face of the earth. Yeah. Pretty much. We have some online business.
Yeah.
We got a download, didn't we?
There was a download. I would say there was a few months of, still trying to make the bars happen, working with another marketing agency, it not working. And there was a few downloads that took place. So the first one, some of the best advice I ever got, was from everybody I talked to, was from a close friend of mine, one of my best friends, Tobias. He was like, because I was like, man, we just need to, we need to figure out how to market. I actually felt, this is how I felt. I use this analogy too. I felt like, imagine I'm a master builder of brick houses. I am the best brick house builder there is. And I'm trying in my company to build a brick that can actually hold together. And when I place it, it doesn't crumble. Or when I'm building it, it doesn't crumble. And I felt like I'm showing up to the job site every day and I'm trying to put the right amount of straw and clay or whatever together, and it just keeps crumbling and it's not working. Because once I have one brick, I'll build a house and I'll scale this thing and we'll make it happen. And so he was like, if you actually are in that situation, why don't you go talk to somebody who knows how to build bricks? Go, if it's marketing that you need, go figure that out. That information's out there. Just focus on that. 'Cause I was getting caught up in maybe this is the problem. Maybe we're not tithing enough. Maybe we're not, maybe we're not tithing enough. Maybe
unforgiveness.
Maybe, people are always at church. People are always bringing up unforgiveness. Oh, maybe you haven't forgiven and that's why you're blocked. And, all this.
Your generational curses.
Your generational curse is chasing you down. All this stuff. And honestly, forgiveness wasn't an issue. Bitterness wasn't an issue. None of this was an issue. What Tobias said, he was like, that's the issue. And so anyways, I trimmed the fat on all of it and just became hyper focused on one thing, and that was marketing. And during that time, I was talking to you on the phone and we were trying to come up with ideas of what we were going to do to get these bars going and how we were going to make it happen. And I was sitting, looking out at the ocean while I was talking to you, and it was like I got hit in the head with a hammer. That's how heavy this idea landed. And the idea was for a shelf-stable almond-based sauce. And it was a very foreign idea to me because I was so done with Sauce Wars. So it was very evident to me,
Sauce Wars are lame.
Yeah, Sauce Wars are lame. It was very evident to me that this idea was from God, because I'm like, this did not come from within me.
No.
I didn't think about this. It landed so hard in that conversation. and the idea and also the how-to of how to make a shelf-stable sauce. And I was like, I remember talking to you, I was like, Porter, we can do this. Like, we can pull this off. And then it like hammered me again. It was like, you have to do this right now. Go and do this. So I was like, we have to do it right now. Everything else that I had planned that day just got canceled. I went to the store, grabbed ingredients, came home, threw them in the blender to what the idea was in my mind. And I blended up the biggest batch of crap you have ever seen. I'm looking at it and I was like, this is crap. And I am...
Thanks, God.
Yeah, thanks, God, for that. I'm like going, I'm literally in my kitchen having a conversation with God, like, I know this idea was not from me. Yeah. Like, what is this? Why? What is this? This is crap. And then I got hit again.
Silly sauce.
It's kind of, I know, stupid sauce. It's kind of emotional because it was like, I mean, it was very, very vivid, you know?
Yeah.
But I got hit again, and it was the second part of the instruction of here's what you need to focus on in order to do this. And so I made the adjustments and blended another batch, and it was like perfection. And I was like, holy crap, this is it. And I tasted it and I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. This is delicious. Like it was
the best sauce you ever tasted, and it was shelf stable outside of refrigeration.
Yeah, and I didn't know the shelf stability of it because that's when you start getting like food science stuff. But I reached out to a guy in the food industry who knew that stuff, and he was like, "Well, here's the goalpost that you need to hit." Yeah, and so I sent it into a lab, tested it, and we were like right there on borderline hitting those goalposts. We tweaked just a few minor things, and we ended up tweaking a few things kind of as we were over the next few months, like fine tuning it. But basically, we have now a sauce that we can ship e-commerce that is food safe and that people can receive anywhere in the country. And, this business plan like opened up in my mind where I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is untouched, even in like a competition side of things. Cause at this point, Bitch and Sauce is nationwide and they're in all the stores, but where they aren't is e-commerce. I think that maybe Amazon or Amazon Fresh or something, but that was untouched. And I'm going, oh my gosh, this is massive. And so we pivoted and started focusing on the sauce and, hit a few road bumps on the way, but ended up coming up with JeeSauce, which we super connect with that, like your come to JeeSauce moment, and
your salivation is at hand.
Yeah, your salivation is at hand,
literally in your hand on a chip.
Are you following JeeSauce on Instagram?
No, but what started firing off is that connection that we were talking about, like in the previous podcast, was something that was missing from the bar brand was my interest.
Your passion?
My interest in a product, or just my day-to-day involvement with a product, and then communicating my relationship to the product to a customer.
Yeah.
So that they can have a relationship to the product like I do.
Yeah.
And when JeeSauce was born, I mean, we were just having a conversation while we were making some sauce, and my brother-in-law Joel was helping us that day, and I think he said it first, but I'm not sure who said it first. But someone said JeeSauce, and I was in my brain. It just went bing, and I was very interested in what that could be and what that brand would look like.
Yeah.
And the language around that brand, and
Yeah.
the logo, and the impact, and like you had a business plan like populate. I had like impact populate in my world, where the planets of the things that are important to me in my life aligned, and I could see it. And that night, we actually came into this room, and it looked a lot different.
Yeah.
But it was our after work kind of hangout, and I think we had a bottle of wine or something, and we just started riffing on the JeeSauce branding, and our motto, or our logos, our one-liners.
Yeah.
Back in the bitchin' sauce days, it was "Have a bitchin' day,"
Yeah.
and
Bitchin' addiction.
yeah, and so we were recreating it, but it was just endless, and it
Yeah.
was just flowing. And it, not only were we writing everything down, I was on my iPad just laughing at what everyone was saying and just designing a logo. Mm-hmm. And that logo that I designed that night is what we still use. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And
That's awesome.
yeah, so JeeSauce is born
Our little baby JeeSauce.
and is incredible. It is the best sauce we ever made,
Yep.
and it is shippable,
Yep.
which fits into our direct customer ideals, which are pandemic proof. They are, a buyer for a store having a bad day proof, where we actually don't need the stores.
Yeah, we don't need it.
We are making it ourselves
Yep.
in our own place.
Yep.
No one will take this from us.
Yep.
And it checked all the boxes, and that was the beginning of what we're doing today.
Yep.
And we're 2 years later from that day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of stuff happened to get the brand in my language and in my mind, and to build on the branding. I went into farmers markets again.
Yeah.
And I hadn't been in farmers markets since the bitchin' sauce days.
Yeah.
So this is 8 years later. And I show up at farmers markets, and familiar faces, same people. We were sauce celebrities back then. So, I look different and they look different, but I roll in and they rolled out the red carpet for me at the Hillcrest Farmers Market.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you started doing that, working 6 days a week, doing farmers markets, building it up from, I mean, what's so wild is in that amount of time, from starting that, our new brand is breaking any bitchin' sauce sales record that we ever had in the past. We are in a much shorter period of time, just destroying those sales records in a major way. Just with, it's a better product. It's still the same service that we gave. It's just top notch and awesome, but
There's some different.
there's a few different things going on. And one of those things is that, people were connecting to is, our story, which we're telling it now, but we'll kind of talk about, our marketing and how we switch some things. But at this time, one major thing that I was going through that was a major just like business learning, also like, God moment, as I'm praying for the wisdom of how do I market this product? How do I do this? How do I, we've hired agencies, we've spent a lot of money to no success. Like, what do I do? And it's crazy because I was watching an ad. An ad came up on Instagram, and it was like they hit on every pain point I ever had. It was like they were talking directly to me. I started crying watching this ad.
This marketing ad.
This stupid marketing ad. I'm like, it was just the information. I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been looking for. Yeah. This information, and
like the nuts and bolts of e-commerce.
Yeah, nuts and bolts of e-commerce, but there's a very specific, important concept in there that that transfers over to anything, and that concept is do not outsource your growth. Mm-hmm. And so if the growth of your company is dependent on marketing, you need to master that. Mm-hmm. And you need to be an expert at that and be excellent at it. And that was where I got like the eye of the tiger, and I buckled up and I
went to school.
I went to school and I started learning, and I was like, I'm going to be a master of, Facebook ads, Instagram ads. I'm going to master this. And, it took me probably about a month to lock it all in to where, immediately by taking control of that growth, our efforts were 3 times better than any agency had ever got us. And then shortly thereafter, they were 10 times better than any agency had ever got us. And it was because, we focused on what matters. And the other thing we decided is like, we aren't going to try to reinvent anything.
Yeah.
We're going to do what we know. And a lot of that experience came from the farmers markets of what do we know?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
What do people care about?
Yeah.
And we're going to, from our firsthand experience already, knowing at farmers markets how people react, why they're there, what they're interested in, what they're talking about. Like, we're just going to do what we know. And that is going to be the standard. We're not going to get all crazy with new ideas and launching crazy stuff. And, I had been on that train just more out of feeling the pressure of I've got to save the company. So I'll do whatever I'll do whatever it takes.
The thing I'm doing working, it must be something I don't know how to do. So tell me what to do.
Yeah. You were really like, we need to do what we know. And at that point I was like, I need to shut up and stop what I'm doing because it's not working and quit this crazy idea craziness and just go, okay.
Yeah.
And I got to that point where it was like, what I'm doing doesn't work anyway.
Yeah.
What am I holding on to? Knock it off and just say, okay.
And we battled over this for some time where, I'm telling you, we already know what to do. We just got to do that. And you're telling me, you got to go to school and do something new. And I was like, why do I got to go to school? And you're going to school. Like, you could do that. I don't need to understand it. I just need it. And there was I know we had, we were butting heads there for a while. But coming out of that, we did combine the nuts and bolts of how to do this properly.
Yeah.
And what I was learning at farmers markets, which is there's things that work and things that matter.
Yeah.
And there's things that don't.
Yeah.
And to focus on the things that connect with people the best.
Yep.
And we fused again.
Yep.
And we have hit stride now where, people, what we say in our ads that are gloriously put together by what you know how to do and the message that I can say in the ads and my daughter says in the ads, they are performing at such a level that we can grow as fast as we want to. We're just trying to keep up with what's
happened in our company is it's really come down to what can we actually produce and handle, and how soon can we hire more and get better machinery and all that stuff because the entire United States is opened up to us.
Yeah. Right now we are sending samples of our sauce to every state every day. And what we used to have to do is buy a trailer and relocate our families for months at a time and personally stand in a store and feed samples to people, which was, very limiting to our growth. It was what we could do or the team we could build or whatever. It was very expensive. And right now, it's anyone in America can go to JeeSauce.com and we will send you a free sample if you haven't had it before. We only do one time, but we will send it to your house in the comfort of your own home. You can try our top 6 products. And that has never been like that before.
No.
So we're very excited for this next phase. We're in the middle of this story still. In fact, since we started telling our story, we got a little bolder after learning that people were actually interested in hearing where we came from and the obstacles that we
why when did we realize that they were interested? Didn't something happen at a farmer's market?
It was
Didn't somebody drive down from LA because they heard our story?
Yeah.
Someone drove down from LA all the way to Hillcrest.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, there you are."
Yeah.
I came down just to see you.
Yeah.
I heard your story from a friend or whoever it was, and they drove 2.5 hours or however long.
Yeah. Crazy. That's one instance. I was being bombarded with people at the farmer's market that were just they were connected with me. They were very interested in the story part of it. The product was great, and yes, it fulfilled a need because they were definitely no longer having bitchin' sauce as a result of hearing the story. Mm-hmm. So the story made a problem, and then I had the solution.
Yeah.
And it was better than they ever had before. So we haven't done it like this before. I mean, we were telling stories when we were in Bitchin' Sauce. The story was, we're the Bitchin' guys.
Yeah, it's a family company.
It's a family company. We like to have a good time. Here is our stuff. And that's a great story. And people,
I think what people rallied around was, just the fact that a family coming together, they went to a few farmers markets, they meet our dad, they meet us, that was the cool aspect about it that people loved.
And a product and
a great product.
Was insane.
At that time.
So yes, today, I mean, we're telling this story publicly because it is the product.
Yeah.
It is what people are interested in. People, and I said this in probably the first podcast that we did, but SauceCast, I have to remember to call it a SauceCast. We're doing SauceCasts. But a story is easily understood. It's hard for me to describe to somebody through a video what something tastes like. you know, like, oh, the sauce is amazing. It tastes like savory and, you know, it has a little bit of spiciness, but you can't understand that. But what you can understand is a story. And me telling that story is, you know, easily tasted, understood, shared with others. And
emotionally felt. I mean, there's like that. There's like a heavy connection.
Yeah. And, you know, this product of the story has lots of wonderful benefits. The features of it are that it's insane and highly entertaining and ups and downs, and it's still going, so you're in the middle of it. But the benefits of this story are, you know, hope for someone who's in a similar situation, or guidance, you know, or
inspiration.
Yeah. You know, there's actual effect that the story has out there. So, you know, we are in the middle of it. You are in the middle of it. Anyone who is trying our products, anyone who's eating our old products, you are in this story. And it's a silly sauce saga, but it is not over. And it's going to get probably even more exciting than anything that we've gone over in this past. Like, it's going to be so victorious.
Yeah.
One thing, I think this will be the end of this segment, but one thing I want to reiterate is the open door to anyone who has heard their name in this SauceCast, or anyone who has something to add that maybe we don't know, anyone that has corrections for us, that maybe we are misunderstanding something. There is a couch that is sitting right over there, and there's a door over there, and it is wide open. And this is our goal. We know it's going to happen at some point. We are going to sit down with everyone, and we are going to follow through with God's way of handling issues, and we're going to lay it out on the table. And if you want to come help us do that sooner than later, by all means, come in here, and we will we'll do it live so that we can't edit anything out. We will bring in third-party mediator, someone who's totally disconnected, maybe doesn't know any part of the story.
Totally.
We will make it a safe place for righteousness.
Yep.
It may not be safe for unrighteousness. And actually, you know what? That's probably the tell of whether someone will come talk to us or not. They say they love us, and I certainly love them. And you would want to help somebody that you love.
Yeah.
And if someone was asking for help, like I'm asking right now, help me, you would come and you would help me if you really loved me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know if that's a call. I mean, that's a call out. That's big. That's a big call out.
Yeah. We're going to lay, everybody's going to lay naked on the table and get poked and prodded.
Yeah.
And
And righteousness will have its way.
Yeah.
And it might change my entire life.
Yeah.
But I know that righteousness is the best.
Yep.
So in the coming podcasts, SauceCasts, in the coming SauceCasts, I think we'll probably have some topics that we want to dive into in much more detail than what we just did.
Yeah.
There are so many insane lessons that we have learned that our wives have learned.
Yeah.
We want to bring in people who have been there since the beginning.
Yeah.
Namely our wives, but there's some friends, some outside friends that even worked for us.
Yeah. I think there's friends who like know more than I know.
Yeah.
There's whole sides to things that there's stuff that I don't even.
There's a lot more information out there. And so, I mean, I have questions. We're going to bring in, hopefully people from the other side, that you would.
Yeah. What I want people from Bitch and Sauce right now.
Yeah.
Like anyone who's
my sister right there.
Yeah. I want my sister right there. But, if, even if that doesn't doesn't happen right away. I want people who are actively with Bitch and Sauce
Yeah.
to come in and talk to us and tell us what's going on. I want to know what's going on the inside.
Yeah.
I wish I was a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Tell us, I have people who have worked with them in the past in the industry who have, told me things in their dealings. But I want to interview and talk about it and see what's actually going on.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a lot more interesting and valuable information. We're gonna put all of these out pretty quickly right after each other, and I don't know when the next one will be after that. But stay tuned. There is more to come.
More to come.